Hello, and welcome to the Storied Human. My guest today is Karen Salmansohn. She's a best-selling author and leading behavioral change expert, celebrated for blending research-based psychological strategies with bold humor. With over 2 million books and courses sold, she's helped countless individuals shake off autopilot and start living with intention. She's the founder of the personal development site NotSalmon.com, home to 1.5 million loyal followers, and has appeared on Oprah and in Psychology Today. Too many people assume they'll have someday to take risks, pursue passions, or deepen relationships, only to wake up years later full of regret. In a time of rising anxiety, chronic distraction, and widespread burnout, avoiding conversations about mortality keeps people from making the changes they deeply crave. Research shows that thinking about death can actually boost happiness, increase motivation, and help people make more meaningful choices. But most avoid this. Karen's personal story of losing her father and how it transformed her approach to life makes her a powerful advocate for this shift in perspective. I cannot wait to dig into this subject. It's pretty much close to my heart. Um, and I love the work that you've done so far. And I'd love to talk about your new book. Welcome, Karen.
Oh, it's great to be here.
So you're already, I mean, this is not new, writing a book, right? You've got a following, you've got other books, but tell me about what led to the writing of this book. Was it losing your dad or were you building up to
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. Well, I say I have two different ways to answer. I have one which is the funny, quirky way, and then I have the poignant, heartfelt way. But I'll start with the funny, quirky way, which is I say that I did not write this book because I had a near-death experience. I wrote it because I had a near-life experience. And
Okay.
if you don't know what near life is, that's okay. I made up the term near life experience. And but a lot of people will relate to it when I describe what it is. It's when you're on your phone so much, scrolling that you're not like in your life, you're near your life, or you're obsessing about something in the future or regretting something in the past. So again, you're not fully in your life. You're kind of life adjacent. And another way to describe it is that you're an autopilot. And a lot of people feel that way these days. I mean, there's a lot of that going around. And it also might even mean like near life even has another meaning, which is the someday thing. Like you keep putting things off till someday. So you're not fully again in your life. You're just kind of near it. Now, when my dad died, this is the part that's the other reason that I wrote, which is the poignant, heartfelt one. When my dad died, it woke me up to realizing that I was spending far too much time in near life experiences and that that this thing called death exists. We know it, it's in the back of our mind, but we're built to be in denial of death. There's a whole area of psychology called terror management, which is all about our attempts to deny the reality of the fact that we are mortal, that we're going to die. And when my dad passed away, it definitely woke me up like this death thing is a thing, it was very I was very uh like kind of slapped awake to the idea that we are mortal and that I didn't want to waste my time anymore. That I felt like during that time I was doing very well in my career, but I was in what I call beast mode. I was so much about work, which was fulfilling to me, but I wanted more balance in my life. And it woke me up to realizing that I wanted a family, I wanted kids, I'd been putting that off. So I have my dad's death to thank for the birth of my son. And actually he was born on August 27th, 4 years after my dad passed away on August 27th. So my dad's death
Whoa.
day is my son's birthday, which I
Oh,
find kind of poignant and sweet.
yeah. And you didn't plan it, obviously, but isn't that funny how things like that work out?
Yeah.
I'm so impressed that you took that event, which I know is, having lost both my parents, my dad most recently, but my mom way too soon, like 20 something years ago. Um, you get numb. It's like shocking. It's like, I'm really impressed that you were able to think your way out of it. Like that you were able to come to a place where you were like, what does this mean for me? Like, what can I get out of this? Like, I've lost this person. It's real now. Right. It's so true. Like, we pretend like they're not going to die, which is so crazy, right? I've lost this
Mm.
person, and you processed that and you thought through that. And not only that, you shared it with the rest of us. So that's pretty impressive. Where does that come from? That
Yeah.
ability to work it through and then to want to share it. I'm always so impressed with people that do that.
Oh, well, I've always wanted to write. Well, I used to be in advertising and I quit my job in advertising because I wanted to write books that made people think in new ways, not write ads that make people buy toothpaste. I wanted to do something with my creativity. And I was always a writer. Like when I was a kid, I'd be up in my room writing in journals while a lot of the rest of my family were downstairs watching I Dream a Genie or whatever on TV. So I've always been a creative person, and journaling and writing has been a real rewarding outlet for me. So it made sense for me to want to turn it into art. And I do a lot of that with a lot of my books are about turning pain into purpose. You know, this book in particular is what I call a legacy project, which is where I really feel like as you get older, you become more aware. And I write about this in my book, of what you want your life to stand for, the message that you want your life, your was here, flag on this planet, you know. And I really believe in the ideas in this book so much. I really want to get it out there and share it with people.
I think we really need it. I think we need a wake up call, and you seem to have put together the perfect one because we're just like, I don't know, counting time, thinking we have forever. A lot of us are doing that. And it's easy to
Yeah.
do that. Nobody's really watching you saying, "Hey, get going." You just sort of, as
Well,
long as you're, paying the rent and moving along, right, and going to your work.
yeah. Well, a lot of us, it's not just about denial of death. A lot of us need a deadline to get something done. We will procrastinate
Oh yeah.
forever on something until the deadline appears. And death is like the ultimate deadline. And it's one you can't kind of talk your way out of. It's coming no matter what, you know. And I mean, I think in some ways, death is kind of the universe's sassy way of getting us, motivating us to get things done. Because if we live forever, we'd be like, oh, I'll tell him I love him in a millennium, or oh, I'll write my novel and a couple thousand years from now. You put things off.
Yeah.
So death is here to remind us to stop dragging our feet. And for that reason, I think of mortality awareness not as morbid, but as motivating, because mortality awareness creates urgency and urgency creates action. When and also it changes what your fears are. Like you might be, oh, I'm afraid to whatever it is that you want to do stand up mic night at the comedy club. But are you more afraid of not doing it before you pass on? So it kind of puts everything into perspective. Your fear of taking chances is overcome by your fear of having regrets on your and not to be morbid, but here I go, I'm going to say it, on your deathbed.
Yeah.
And so in my book, um I help people to really think in a safe way, in a way that doesn't have terror management attached to it, about what you're going to want to feel like when you're on your deathbed. And I kind of get people motivated to think about it by helping them to write their eulogy. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, I don't want to write my eulogy. I don't blame them. So I've kind of taken the creepy crawlies out of it. And in my book, I have a fill in the blank template with, Mad Libs. It's little like Mad Libs where you
Yeah.
fill in the blanks, and it helps you to write your eulogy without all the creepy crawlies of it. And
That's so great.
a
So
lot of what the blanks are, and I'll share this with you and your audience, are a lot of the blanks have to do with core values, about living a life that you're proud of because you're embracing strong core values.
wow, that is so cool. I think more of us need to do that for sure. And I have like ventured into this area when someone dies too soon, like somebody we know and they died really young, um, it hits you really hard. But then what I usually get out of it is, well, I better get off my butt because this could happen anytime. But I love how you took it farther and you encourage people to really think about sort of goals you have, right? Before it's too late. You have to remember you're not here endlessly. I think we all act like we are here endlessly. If we're not, we have to become more conscious, is what I'm getting from you.
Yes. And so that's why I want people to really, and when you write your eulogy, it becomes more real to you. And also, I mean, we write like a 5-year business plan. We think about other
Yeah.
things like that. We even think about like for New Year's, what's your goal for the year? So why not really think about what's your goal for life? And a lot of what I write about in my book is influenced by the philosopher Aristotle, but I don't write it in like a dry, way. I write it with humor. And Aristotle, he said a lot of things that really resonate with me. He said that we should begin all projects with the ends in mind. Everything from something small like a bake sale, like what's your ends in mind for that, to the gigantic project called your life. What is your goal for your life? Most people don't sit around thinking, what is my goal for life? But Aristotle did the thinking for you. And I kind of repeat what he said in a funny way, so it's easy to understand. And Aristotle said that everybody on this planet has the same end goal for their life, no matter where you're from. If you're from Timbuktu, Toledo, Toronto, we all have the same end goal. And that is to learn lessons that help us to grow into our best possible selves. That's the end goal for your life. And he says that a lot of people that are unhappy, they're unhappy because they're aimed at the wrong end goal for their life. They think the end goal for life is become the wealthiest person on the planet, or become the sexiest woman on the planet, or have the most Instagram followers or YouTube. No, those are superficial goals. And if those are your goals for your life, then when you get to the end of your life, you're going to realize you chased the wrong rabbits, and you're going to really regret. That's where you get the regrets. What you spent your time and energy and focus on, and that you should be focusing on doing everything you can to grow into your best possible self. And that includes enjoying meaningful relationships, having meaningful experiences, being of service, all of those things. And a lot of us if we're caught up in our work, even if it's fulfilling, it it can maybe block you from enjoying. Like the top regrets of the dying are, I wish I didn't work so hard. And so many of us worship at the altar of productivity. And I feel like we have to have more balance and more time for loving relationships and all of that. And a lot of us are out of balance with that.
Yeah, there's so much more fulfillment when you do those other things, when you deepen and you learn and you become your best self. But we don't
Yeah.
focus on that. So I love that you're reminding us, because we don't. We get all caught up in our daily lives, and I think we just respond to, the next thing, whatever someone needs from us or whatever work needs from us. And you mentioned deadlines, and I'm a writer, and like that's the only reason I get things done. So it makes a lot of sense that I should have a life deadline and start thinking about what that means. You're also reminding me of, I talked to a life and career coach, and she talked about having long-term goal and then having short-term goals and making sure that you're checking in with yourself and saying, does this match my
Yeah.
long-term goal?
I
Like, I'm
write
not
about
going to,
that in my book.
that's so good because people don't think that way. And I think that's such a brilliant way to sort of
Definitely.
bring yourself back to who you should be and where you're going.
Oh, thank you. In my book, I describe that I see it as sort of having a bifocal lens. Like you have to
Yeah.
keep your eye on the long-term prize, but know what each daily steps are. But in my book, I talk about having a daily to die list, which is different than a to-do list. Okay. So let me explain what this is. Um, a to-do list, as we know, helps you to schedule your day. A to-die list helps you to design your whole life. That's the bifocal thing there. And a to-die list, you could accomplish everything on your to-do list, and at the end of your life, feel like you wasted it. Again, goes back to productivity and busyness and worshiping at the wrong altars of these things, you know. And a to-die list, you put down things that are meaningful to you. And they're associated with core values. So what I have people do is I have you look at your current life and then your aspirational eulogy you life, and you see where is the gap. And then your to-die list are the tiny little bridge habits that you have to take each day to get you from current you to aspirational eulogy you. And the to-die list has to do with the core values that I mentioned before, where you write down things like, I am loving. And so I spend time with my loved ones in present conversation, like I put my phone away. So you write down core value related habits that you can do each day that would not necessarily be on a to-do list. And you put those on your to-die list. So you remind yourself of who you want to be in your life. So it matches with aspirational eulogy you.
I really like that. And I like that you're giving it the same due that those very serious busyness lists have. These things are really important and you're giving it that same attention. I really like that. So what are people like, have you gotten reactions and feedback? Do you have early readers?
Right. I've gotten a ton of amazing response from the book. I had Jenny Lawson, who I don't know if you know her. I absolutely love her. So that was like a dream come true. She wrote me back. I didn't know her. I just sent it to her. And she wrote back saying, this was fascinating. And then who knew trauma and death could be so inspirational? So she loved it.
So
And
cool.
AJ Jacobs wrote back saying that it was not only the funniest book he ever read, but that he thought it was like an amazing guide for helping people to live, you know, I forgot what he wrote exactly, but it was
Isn't
really
that
nice.
great? Yeah,
And
you're hitting a chord. Yeah, I have this feeling that you're hitting a chord with people. And I think part of it is your humor. People can really take it. They can take it in because it's partly funny. You deliver it with some
yeah, it
humor.
helps people. It helps
It
because
does. It
it is
does.
hard to sit down and talk around death. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't usually talk enough about death. I mean, we're all
So
going to go through losing someone and we're all going to eventually die ourselves, but we don't like to talk about it. It's kind of crazy.
kind of the last taboo topic. We'll talk about pretty much everything these
Yeah.
days, but you
Yeah.
bring up death, people kind of shy away. And so I'm a pioneer in what I call the mortality awareness movement. And my goal is to make death more of an accessible conversation because I do think that more people are aware that they're going to die, the more they're going to live bold, authentic lives. And what I did in my book is I looked at the top regrets of the dying, and I interviewed somebody who's a death doula, and I looked at those things with them. And then one by one, each of those regrets, I reverse engineered them to figure out what do you have to do now to avoid those regrets of the
I
dying.
not
And
have
again, that's
that.
the core values come in because if you embrace certain core values, then you will be able to, it's like slathering yourself with regret resistant sealing. You'll be able to kind of keep regrets at bay if you know what those regrets are. And a lot of them have to be like, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. So I actually
Yeah.
give people the core value of fun. I think that is a core value.
I
You
think
know, so
that's great. Yes.
balance in our life, and then think about what you could put on your to-die list to make sure you have more fun in a day. You know, you vary them
Yeah.
each day to things. And also, I wish I had allowed myself to have more joy in my life, or I wish I had been closer with my friends. So to kind of prioritize these things and make sure that you're sprinkling these things into your day. So you don't wind up on your deathbed and, and wonder like, where did all that time go? You take care of it now. And actually, speaking of time, I also help people to figure out where their time leaks are and their happiness leaks are, because so many people say, oh, I would do that, but I'm so busy, or I didn't have time for that, which is sort of like the adult equivalent of saying like the dog ate my homework. I didn't have time for that. But you do have time if you do what I call a life audit. And I help people to do that. I have prompts that help them look at their life and see, where are you leaking time? Where are you leaking happiness? And try to figure out how you can find the time and the energy and the attention to put it on the things that matter most. So I help people to figure that out.
Just think it's great. I think in general, you just help people become much more conscious of themselves and how they can best suit themselves and not be there at the other end regretting. I mean, I remember reading people regret what they didn't do so much more than what they did do.
Yeah,
The missed
exactly.
opportunities and and if you're not paying attention, like I just love that you're calling our attention to the fact that we're not paying attention. Like maybe we're living, from the outside, these lives that look great. We're following all the rules, we're doing all the things, but that's not good for us as human beings, as our own selves. And what I also love about this is the more you become yourself, the more you give the world. And if you're sitting here with your gifts and you're not becoming your best self, then you're kind of cheating the world, is like my feeling. Is like we're supposed to be our full selves, or why are we here?
In my book, I actually have this very bizarre story that I tell about exactly that. So it's interesting because you just got the book and you haven't had a chance to read the whole thing yet. So you have no idea, but you just hit upon something that's absolutely in the book. It was about the day my dad passed away. My mom came into the hospital with, she had found a letter that I had sent to my father that was still in his bedroom bureau drawer from when I was in college.
Wow.
And she said, and but we didn't know it was the day my dad was going to pass. And she brought it into the hospital and she said, look what I found in dad's bureau drawer. And I recognized what it was. And inside, there were some pages from a book that I had been reading at college that I had loved so much that I ripped them out of the book, put it in the envelope, and mailed it to my dad. And I don't know what book it's from, but when I read it on that day, oh my God, it was amazing. It's about what you just said. And I read it at his eulogy, and I don't have the pages anymore, but I read it and I reread it. I read it so many times that I kind of know it a little bit by heart. And this is what it said. And it's exactly what you just said right now. It said, uh, everything you have not given is lost. And then it repeated it twice. Let me say that again. This is what somebody else wrote, not
Yes.
my words.
Oh,
Everything you have not given is lost. This is a potent wake up call. Every thought, every gift, every talent, every passion, every thank you, every compliment, whatever went on to this is lost unless you share it with others. But then the more you share with others, you put a ripple out into the world, and then they share it and they share it. And this metaphor about, it's like throwing a pebble into a pond and the ripple keeps spreading out. And so whatever you give keeps living on in the next person, and then in the person that they meet, and then the person that they meet, and the person. And so this metaphor of a ripple is one that we should keep in mind as we give of ourselves and our lives and our talents, that we are leaving ripples. And viewed this way, how big of a ripple do you want to leave? Like, how much of a ripple? And it's about not hoarding ourselves. It's about sharing ourselves with the
wow.
world.
Yeah.
I thought
That's
that was
so
such,
beautiful. That's so
right?
beautiful. And that's right on. You have no idea who you affect, but you have no right to hoard your gifts. That's where I'm at. Yeah. You have no right to hoard your gifts. I love that whole image of the ripple. It's kind of how I feel about this podcast. Like you don't know who's listening, you don't know where it goes. And I love being the facilitator of getting
Yes.
your message out there because who knows who needs to hear it, you know?
And then you share
And
it with somebody who then shares it with somebody who then shares it with somebody,
it's a
and the ripple can go
beautiful
far as
image.
far. Yeah.
I really like that. And I really feel that. Yeah. That's so nice and beautiful that I'm so touched that you tore the pages that you're like, I've got to send this to dad. And you literally tear
Yeah.
your book
And he
apart.
saved it. He
Well,
saved
that's
it,
what
which I
kills you.
thought was
After
so.
someone passes to see what they saved, it's like so beautiful and heart-wrenching because maybe you even forgot. Like my mother had this thank you card from my friend, a really, really good friend, and she wrote the most beautiful thank you card. And I was just like, oh my gosh, my mom just felt this and loved this and tucked it away and never ever gave it up. All those years, like probably at the time, 20 years. So it really tells you what's close to someone's heart and how much they treasure what you sent.
Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah.
story. I'm going to hold that image in my mind for a long time. So, is there anything we didn't cover? Because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm kind of relaxed and
Oh, no, it's cool. Well, I mean, with that story, that's about what I think of those ripples as mini legacies, but they're legacies too. Like, I do feel that we're here to put our was here mark on this planet, and we have to figure out what that is, how you want let your life be a message to the world. And to find the purpose of your life is to find and do the purpose of your life and to make sure you're living authentically. Authentic is a very important core value that I think people should embrace if they want to live what I call a year to die for life. The name of the book, that where it's your life is literally to die for, that you are happy with your life. When you wind up on your deathbed and you look back, you want to give your life a 10-star Yelp review, like, okay, I did good. And that's if you live authentically, and then the more ripples you leave. But people think like legacy has to be something grand. Legacy doesn't have to be grand. It's just about, you know, living a loving life, being kind, being attentive, being present, talking to people, sharing your gifts however you can. You don't have to leave some grand, like, solving cancer legacy. You can just be a good person, and that's your legacy. And you can write that out when you write your eulogy. You think about how you want people to remember you and the ripples that you want to leave behind.
that sounds like such a good thing to do. Just really focus on what do I want to leave behind. And some of my favorite obituaries, not that I read a lot of them, but there's a local paper and I sometimes know people or I know the family. My favorite ones, I think, are the ones where they say, people loved her lemon cupcakes and she was a mother to everyone and everyone knew her smile. And like to me, that's just as wonderful as somebody who built a library or, has a hospital wing named after them because everyone
Absolutely. Those
felt
are
her love.
ripples. Those are
She
ripples
was
that
this
really.
loving person. And so I hear what you're saying. That's so lovely. So tell us again the full title of the book, if you don't mind.
Sure. It's called You're to Die for Life. And then the subtitle is How to Maximize Joy and Minimize Regret Before Your Time Runs Out. And I have a website, you're to die for life.com. And if
Okay.
you buy the book, you can either pre-order it. I'm going to leave this up. The book goes live in July. If you type in your invoice number, I have a free gift. If you come to to dieforlife.com, you get a workshop that I created called It's Never Too Late to Rejigger Your Life. And
Nice.
you'll get that for free.
That's fantastic. Is there any other way you want to let people know they can contact you?
Sure. Well, my name is Karen Salmansohn. Everybody mangles it and they're always going Salmonson. I'm always saying not salmon, not salmon. So my website, another website of mine is notsalmon.com. That's where I have all my other books. And my
Okay.
Instagram is not salmon. Facebook is not salmon, and my Substack is not salmon. So
Okay.
that's pretty much the way you.
That's great. I mean, I always like to ask people to say it out loud because not everybody reads the show notes. I'm going to put all of this in the show notes. Um, they'll get all this information if they
Okay.
read the show notes, but sometimes people just hear it. So it's good to say it here. I can't thank you enough for coming on. You have such a great message. And I think it just will really help people. This book is going to help people. Way to
I hope
go.
so. think
Yeah.
so. Early readers are thanking me, so I'm very excited to get the book out to more people. And
Yeah.
thank
You
you.
hit upon something and you articulated it well and you presented it with humor. I can't wait to read it.
I'm
I'm
excited.
excited.
So thank you so much for inviting me on here.
Thank you so much for coming. It was just a pleasure.
Likewise. Likewise.